What's up, guys? Tom Clark here for BleacherReport.com, here with the one and only Matt Hardy. Matt, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, man. Thanks for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just watched you wrestling match here at HVW against Kirby Mack. Great match, by the way.
Thank you.
How's it feel to be back on the local level again? Is it cool reconnecting with the fans?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more intimate. Probably to me, it's been just most enjoyable knowing that I control my schedule.
Right.
I'm not dictated to a certain schedule, so if I'm beat up, over the course of 1 week I can kind of alter or change what I do or make sure I control my schedule, which I feel a lot more comfortable with. Because physically I'm a little beat up and I'm doing a lot of things to try and correct that as much as possible. But it's real cool being here because it just reminds me of why I got in the business, of how much you love it and how fun it is to interact with the people and not do it just because it's your job. Like, do it because it's fun. I'm fortunate enough that I didn't have to do this if I didn't want to, but this is such a big staple in my life. Like, I enjoy doing it. So it just kind of comes with the territory that I still want to continue to do this as much as I can because it's just part of my life. It's part of my being. And coming out here and being able to interact with the fans, and like tonight there were a bunch of great, really talented young guys that were on the car that were working hard. And I mean, I see a lot of myself and Jeff and Shane Helms and Shannon Moore and those other guys, and these guys working in the ring. So it's a lot of fun. Kirby Mack, too, is another really talented guy that I've seen come up from the beginning, and to see his evolution, to get to wrestle with him on a more competitive level, it's just a lot of fun all the way around. And truly, like kind of what I'm doing now, so it's a labor of love because I enjoy doing it, and I just get I probably get more out of it than the fans do because I just have that much fun with it.
Right. Well, it certainly shows. When you're talking about the road schedule, what is the difference, say, between WWE and TNA? TNA is more of a centralized location most of the time in Florida. Is it easier road schedule with them, or how's it different?
I think one of the big attractions of TNA originally was the lighter schedule. But I think over the course of the last couple of years, that's changed. I mean, they're basically on a similar schedule to WWE because they have a house show loop where they do 3 shows, and then every couple of weeks they're on Orlando for TV. That's a little better because you might have 2 nights in one spot. I mean, once you start doing a show and you have to fly and drive and do this, and you have 5 days out of that week, and you only have a day. You travel for a day, then you only have a day and have to recuperate. It's tough. It's tough on your body. It's a world of difference than wrestling 1 or 2 times during the week and then having 5 days off. Once you get on that schedule of working, 5 days a week and maybe 6 with a travel day, especially over the course of, I was at WWE for 11 years, and you do that over and over and over, and you start, your body starts breaking down, and you get beat up. You have to learn how to work as smart as possible, and whenever you have a chance to recuperate, you have to. So this is just nowhere near as much stress, nowhere near as many politics. It's just, you get to have fun and realize why you fell in love with this business in the first place.
Reconnect with it to begin with.
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you see them, on a side note, do you see them going somewhere? Do you feel like they're on the right path, personally speaking? Do you think that they need some more perspective, or TNA as a company?
I still think TNA is trying to find their niche in some ways. Their talent, they have a great talent pool. They really have solid matches. It's funny, I did a Q&A last week, and I want to say someone there had some sort of tie to Bleacher Report, but there were some guys from Russell's on there. And one of the questions was asked, what is the main difference? And kind of a conclusion myself and someone else came to is that really, in WWE, there's one chief.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Indians that contribute ideas, but at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, one person either goes yes or no. And in TNA, there's just more chiefs,
Right.
So there's a lot of people who can veto and things get turned around. So you might have something set in stone for the day that could really be good, but then 10 minutes before it happens, to be taped or on television or on pay-per-view, whatever, it changes around. So there's just a lot of misdirection down there still.
So considering the size of the talent roster they have, could that be one explanation why they're not farther along than they are right now?
Possibly. And another thing is, it's hard for people. People forget this very easily. I mean, WWE's been around so long, and their claws are in everywhere globally, and
Right.
they're a huge company, and it's like they have TV markets in over 100 countries across the world, and they're just so powerful, and they just, when people hear WWE, the brand, they go, oh my God, that's wrestling. TNA is still really new. I mean, they're in infantile stages when you look at it like that. I mean, to survive this long, it's really impressive that they've done that. It's just going to take years for them to build a brand name to compare with the WWE. So it's good that they're doing what they're doing, but I think if there was just one person that had a definitive yes or no, it would help them out a lot. It wouldn't always be right. They would make some wrong decisions, but there would be right decisions, and there would always be one person to look to.
I think I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, with WWE, I mean, Vince hasn't retired. I know Triple H is doing a lot more. I still speak to several guys from there now. But I mean, Vince either says yes or no. And when he says yes on something, that's what's going to happen. And when he says no, it's not going to happen. I mean, he is the emperor of the WWE. And with TNA, there's no one who has that kind of authority. Dixie Carter runs the company, but she still, kind of allows other people to handle the wrestling ends. And then you have Hulk Hogan, you have Eric Bischoff, you have Bruce Prichard, and then you have the agents. So there's just a lot of miscommunication. There's not one person that's going to go yes or no. And I just think that that's kind of an issue that possibly makes their product not as good as it could possibly be.
Right. Well, it's obvious that you have a huge love for the business and love getting back on this level and everything, but I got to ask you, when it comes to tag team wars, and of course you and your brother, huge tag team in the history of this business, what do you think the timetable is for you guys getting to the WWE Hall of Fame? Has that been thrown around? Has anybody asked you or talked to you about it? Or
I mean, I hear it all the time. I see it on Twitter every day. You know what I mean?
Right.
As far as anything officially happening, no, not really. But I've actually spoke with WWE quite a bit, on and off. So we'll see. I mean, Jeff doesn't have a really long time left in his TNA deal, and I think he wants to take some time off because he's beat up. And I don't know. I mean, we'll see what the future holds. It's really, for me and him, we're both at really good places in our lives right now. So it's just going to be interesting to see what the future holds. As far as the Hall of Fame goes, or a WWE return, or TNA return, or anything, the Hardys will definitely team again. That's something I can guarantee you. I don't know if it'll be here at HBW or it'll be at Madison Square Garden, WrestleMania, whatever.
Right.
But the one thing that I would say about this business that is a motto that always works is never say never. Because you never know what's going to happen. And that's one thing that's so great about this business, is because it is sports entertainment. We control what we do, and it's like there really is no, there is no finality to anything never happening again. This business is so great because we do have a creative control, and the business has a creative control itself. So never say never. Anything can happen in wrestling. That's what makes it so exciting. Rock coming back, or Brock showing up. And a lot of other businesses that would never happen. But wrestling, we can do that because we can work with people.
Anything for the fans too.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
Speaking of tag teams, when you look at the state of tag team wrestling, the business today, especially in two big companies, especially in WWE, I should say, are you disappointed considering the work that you guys did back in the day, laid the foundation for tag team wrestling, and now it's sort of kind of gone by the wayside? They just put two random guys together at any given time, instead of like establishing an actual tag team. Does that bother you at all when you see that there's no real focus on the division like there used to be?
You can't let things overly bother you that you can't have control of. But as a wrestler in the business and as a wrestling fan, it's frustrating because I think tag team wrestling is extremely exciting. I think it's extremely entertaining. You can do a lot of cool things in tag team wrestling you can't do in singles matches. So I think it has a big market. I mean, we proved that. There was an era in the 80s when there were the Bulldogs and the Hart Foundation, all those guys, and then in the late 90s when there were Matt and Jeff Hardy, Edge and Christian, the Dudleys, the APA, Too Cool, the New Age Outlaws. So tag team wrestling can be really good, but my theory is, and this is my personal theory, it might be right, it might be wrong, is that right now, because they don't have, in the late 90s, they had Stone Cold, who was as hot as anyone could be. They had The Rock, who was hot as anyone could be. And they didn't have to worry about what was going to, feed the family as far as that goes. They had their main event draw, who was their breakthrough star. Cena's still the centerpiece of the company, but they're not having record ratings like they did in the late 90s. They're not selling record merchandise. And until Vince and company find the next guy that can do that, and they feel comfortable, like, okay, cool, we have our next big star, we can put this on cruise control. Now let's worry about something else. Until that happens, where they don't have to worry about who their main center of the universe is, that's drawing all the money and setting record ratings and selling a record amount of tickets for live events and record numbers of pay-per-views, tag team wrestling isn't going to be a priority, because their priority is going to be that. Because their mindset is like, the main thing that people want to pay money to see is whoever our champion is in our main draw. When it was Hogan in the 80s, tag team wrestling thrived. When it was Stone Cold and The Rock, tag team wrestling thrived. Right now, because there hasn't been that breakthrough guy. There hasn't been that guy who's been setting new numbers or new records or done things in a new format. And I think until that person happens and they feel comfortable with that, that'll be the only time they'll actually say, okay, well, now let's look at tag team wrestling and make it good again.
Let's say that moment comes and they give it to you. Just as a random thought out there, what's the first thing Matt Hardy does leading the tag team division?
I would actually find probably three, four tag teams that were really good. I would try and get a couple programs set that you could really sink your teeth into that were longer term, and just build credibility once again into the tag team division, and I would get the tag team titles and I would put them on a team and have this team go for a while as the champions. And I would just do everything I could from a booking standpoint to make tag team wrestling seem important, just like someone would book the main event scene. And you know, from there, it's just it's easy. You know, really. I mean, once you have someone that you can put a storyline behind and drive behind, if you can get them over, it's really easy because you can go any direction with it.
I'll put you on the spot. Is there one thing you'd sign right off the bat?
I don't know. That's hard to put me on the spot. I mean, it's even like, for instance, like Epico and Primo would be a great team. But I mean, if you have them out every week getting beat by one guy, or you have them out just getting beat by some other random tag team when they're champions, and you know, all of a sudden people aren't going to care about them.
Right.
And that's one thing I dislike about WWE, but I'm not running the show, so it's not my call. Like, I think anyone that's ever under contract shouldn't just be fed to make someone else a superstar. Brodus Clay, I understand why they gave him, you know, gave him a push and put him on TV, because people reacted to him and they liked him a lot. But just to feed like a Kurt Hawkins or a Tyler Rex or a Drew McIntyre, someone that you're going to have on the road working night in, night out, I don't think you should take away from their credibility. I think that's where you take new young guys and you hire them as extras and you let them do that. Right. You know, and if they're good, then maybe down the road you can do something with them. But I think anyone who you have that is contracted talent, you need to take care of them and treat them like an important piece of property.
A couple more and we'll let you go here. Who do you think is your greatest opponent so far in your career? If you had to name one guy that you enjoyed working with the most.
It's a funny question. I mean, obviously I love working with Jeff. I don't think people really liked us wrestling together that much. Probably my favorite opponent and most heated rivalry would be Edge, obviously, because we had a long history, myself and Jeff versus Edge and Christian, and then we also you know, had the thing with me and Edge and Lita, and that was really dramatic and emotional, and people really, you know, bought into that because it was half-assed real. You know, it was definitely something that was blurred, and blurred as it went along. MVP is another person who is someone I really enjoy working. We're close friends and also very big rivals. And I'm excited on May 19th. I'm actually wrestling him again in Nashville.
Cool.
For Crossfire Entertainment. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But I mean, those are the first people that come to mind.
Right. What do you think you have left to do in the business? Do you still have a goal out there as a world title somewhere that you, in the future, you believe you should attain or you want to attain? Or
you know, it's weird. I don't really think in those terms anymore, and maybe it's just that I've been around long enough that I just kind of realize that, you know, titles are props. I mean, I want to do everything that I can to entertain the people, and I think I'm more of the giving back type. You know, like even tonight coming out here with, you know, wrestling Kirby, I could have been the guy who just did as little as I could have done to get by, or I could have really tried to go out of my way to help him out and just see what I had, you know, and I preferred the latter, even though that maybe been the tougher choice, because, you know, I was only slept 3 hours last night, traveled for 12 hours, and I was tired and exhausted, but I wanted to get as much as I could out of that, and I like Kirby as a person, and I wanted to make our match as good as possible. My goal would be to get back to the business, and I think at some point I have a lot of knowledge that I can help other younger guys.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so maybe as an agent or a producer, and I still think if I could have some sort of a part-time schedule, I've still got some wrestling left in me as well. But as far as like setting one thing, like I want to do this or I want to do that, I want to entertain people. I want to be able to give back, and I want to put smiles on people's faces, man. And I just want to be happy with myself in my life. I'm pretty simple nowadays.
Well, you're talking about the fans. You got a very loyal fan base. Is there any message you want to give to them? Because I know they're watching. So I mean, anything you want to give to them, like in order for them, like them supporting you all these years, any message you want to give to them about maybe your future?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I can say is to anyone who supported me and showed me love is thank you, first and foremost. And I just want to tell everyone to dare to dream. You know, don't be afraid to chase your dream, and you know, just try and be good to everyone. Don't judge people, and just try and make the world a better place. Be good to everybody.
Well said, brother. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
BleacherReport.com, Tom Clark. Thank you.